Zorak, Guardian of Earth, The Awakening of Zorak Nebulae, Part 1. He traveled for millennia through the galaxies. Now his fight begins here. Episode 1. Beginning of the Future. The Birth of the Zorak Nebulae. The Guardian, a Star Child. In the velvety black ocean of the cosmos, far beyond the eye of the strongest telescopes, nestled a celestial body named Aetheron Prime. It was a planet of radiant rings and shimmering cities, floating harmoniously around a tranquil sun that pulsed with sapphire light. Aetheron Prime was not merely a planet. It was the cradle of an advanced civilization, being sculpted by time and stellar winds, possessing mastery over energy, stealth, and cosmic resonance. Among these beings, a prophecy had long circulated. From the heart of Aetheron, in a time of shifting skies, a guardian shall be born, bringer of balance, bearer of resilience, the last flame of the stars, unassailable. Into this prophecy, a child was born to two of Aetheron's greatest minds, Orana and Kael-Zur, explorers of stellar realms and keepers of cosmic knowledge. The child's name was Zorak Nebulae, meaning pulse of the infinite in the ancient tongue. From the moment of his birth, he shimmered with a unique aura, not golden like the others, but deep violet and streaked with sparks of silver, an evidence of power yet untapped. Zorak's infancy was marked by celestial signs. Comets altered their paths to pass over his cradle. The atmosphere hummed a deeper tone near him. When he laughed, light danced. When he cried, the gravity rippled. Scientists of their realm declared him a unique convergence of cosmic forces, his essence forged in a storm of energy deep within the planet's core. By the age of 10, by the timing and dating of the realm, Zorak could manipulate small fields of gravitation and bend light and strong winds around his form. Zorak in his advanced exosuit. At 18, he became invisible at will and could leap the heights of planetary towers. But with great power came deeper questions. Zorak, with parents Orana and Kael-Zur, home planet Aetheron before its destruction. "Why am I different?" he often asked his mother. "You are not different, my son," Orana would whisper as she traced stardust across his brow. "You are just more. Gifted, imbued with complex cosmic powers, and they are simply evolving. The galaxy has whispered your name before it was ever spoken." Episode 2. The Odyssey. On sighting the impeding threat of an enormous rogue star heading in the direction of Aetheron, his parents prepared a vessel meticulously, advanced and impregnable spaceship called the Akran Shell to send him into the galaxies to wander the universe until he locates a habitable planet where he could adapt and survive should the disaster of collision with the ultra-giant rogue star planet happen. They would have to stay behind to resist the disaster, and if they make it, he could navigate back to their planet in the well-equipped spaceship, and if they don't, he stays to find a meaning for his existence in any planet he discovers is suitable for his living. Akran Shell. The spaceship will be his companion. Now, the rogue planet was close. A major disaster was about to happen. Zorak was boarded onto the Akran Shell, ready to be sent out into the vast universe. The Akran Shell ignited with a burst of crystalline light, its thrusters folding space around it in shimmering spirals. The launch platform trembled beneath the force of its departure, and the sky, once azure and calm, now throbbed with crimson streaks and crackling energy as the rogue planet loomed closer. Shortly after the Akran Shell had launched into the vast universal space, Aetheron, the celestial body where he was born, was violently hit by the rogue planet, bigger by over 1,000 times in size, consuming and shattering large chunks of Aetheron. The shockwaves of impact tore at Aetheron's magnetosphere like a claw-rending silk. Akran Shell, with Zorak on board, zapping through space and the galaxies with looking for a terrestrial planet. Inside the ship, Zorak lay encased in a stasis field. The translucent crystal shell around him kept his body in perfect suspension, his vitals stable, his aging halted. Yet his consciousness was partially awake, engaged in a slow absorption of ancestral memories and survival protocols etched into the core of the vessel. From his curved window, he watched helplessly as his world fell away in large chunks, swallowed by an explosion of color and collapsing geometry. Buildings that once towered like mountain peaks shattered like glass. The great stellar archives burned, flinging data particles like fireflies into the vast void. And then a final bloom of radiant light, his home compressed into a nova before vanishing into silence. The Akran Shell didn't stop to mourn. It zipped through the rift created by its own jump drive, flung into uncharted streams of the cosmos, and headed out in search of a terrestrial planet trillions of kilometers away from Aetheron. The exact distance of Aetheron from Earth is unknown, but widely assumed to be around 1.3 light-years away from Earth, but it lies between Elnath, a giant star also called Beta Tauri, lying at an average distance of 414 million kilometers from Earth and 5.8 million kilometers in diameter, over 4 times that of the Sun, and Pollux, the red giant star, lying about 33.7 light-years away from Earth with a diameter of about 12.6 million kilometers, about 9 times that of the Sun. Pollux emits over 30 times more than light than the Sun. Wow. Note that 1 light-year is approximately 946 trillion kilometers. Aetheron lies much closer to Elnath but between the above 2 stars. These gigantic galaxies will be used to give an impression of how far away Aetheron was from Earth and the distance Zorak must travel in the Akran Shell through time and space to get to the Earth. The Akran Shell is thus on a journey that will take over somewhere around 1.2 to 1.3 light-years from Earth. Zorak laid encased in a stasis field. His aging had been halted at around 20 earthly years, his advanced spaceship zapping through the vast galaxy at an amazing speed of over 450,000 kilometers per hour, a journey that will take close to 3 millennia. An estimate of time. Now, the earthly period of Zorak's takeoff from Aetheron was around 825 BCE, before Common Era, a time when the world was very ancient, when Britain was in the late Bronze Age transforming into early Iron Age and people lived in tribal clan-based communities. Late Bronze Age village in Britain was a time when there was no Roman Empire. In fact, Rome didn't even exist yet in the form we usually think of it. In 825 BCE, the area that would become Rome was merely a collection of small Latin and possibly Sabine settlements on the hills around the Tiber River in central Italy. These communities were part of what archaeologists call proto-urban cultures, small villages, that would eventually coalesce into a city. Pre-Bronze Age Latin township that later became Rome pre-Bronze Age. It was a time when the Neo-Assyrian Empire was reaching its military and administrative peak, a time when the Zhou dynasty of China was in power, when the Vedic culture was thriving in India, and the Americas were home to several developing and complex cultures. Pre-Bronze Age Neo-Assyrian Empire around when it was reaching its military and administrative peak. When early civilizations were forming, especially Mesopotamia, today's Central America, featuring the Olmec civilization. It was around this period that ancient Greece was developing, when the kingdoms of Israel and Judah were being established, when Egypt was no longer a unified superpower and was in their third intermediate period, a time of their decline in central power, when Africa was home to several civilizations, when the Nok culture, in present-day Nigeria, may have been forming, and the Bantu peoples were spreading across the African continent in waves of migration. It was the period of the pre-Aksumite cultures in Ethiopia and Eritrea, when the pre-Aksumite societies were developing in the highlands of Ethiopia and Eritrea. These cultures were part of the Ethio-Sabaean cultural sphere, with influences from South Arabian traders across the Red Sea and evidence of early complex chiefdoms or proto-states, laying the groundwork for the later kingdom of Aksum, which emerged around the 1st century CE. In that period, the pastoral Neolithic cultures in Kenya and Tanzania were communities practicing pastoralism, raising cattle, sheep, and goats, with some cultivation, and people lived in small mobile groups and used stone tools. Pastoral life in Eastern Africa, hunter-gatherers. Late Stone Age societies of today's Zimbabwe, Botswana, and South Africa. In southern Africa, Zimbabwe, Botswana, and South Africa, there were late Stone Age societies when the region was dominated by hunter-gatherer groups, ancestors of the San, Bushmen, and Khoikhoi people. These societies were using microlithic tools, practicing complex hunting and gathering, and had rich rock art traditions, like those found in the Drakensberg Mountains and Namibia. Such was the period that the story of Zorak the Guardian began over 2,880 years ago, nearly 3 millennia ago. The future of this terrestrial world was long ago closely targeted for destruction and takeover by advanced alien forces. But a Nudimate Guardian was on his way. The first drift into the silence. 4 millennia by Earth reckoning, the ship glided through space like a phantom star. The Advanced Navigation Galactic Intelligence, GI, named Luma after an ancient Aetheron Guardian, operated on autopilot. Its mission: find a planet capable of sustaining Zorak's life. But Aetheron biology was intricate, attuned to rare frequencies and complex energy balances. Most candidate worlds were scanned and rejected within microseconds. Spaceship tore through the galaxies at speeds well above the speed of light. Zorak's slumber was not dreamless. Luma fed his consciousness a steady stream of simulations, training in diplomacy, combat, science, language, and galactic history. He explored holographic jungles of gas planets, studied ancient Aetheronian war stratagems, meditated to master his cosmic resonance. In the space of time, he grew slowly from a boy into a capable being, not fully awake, but no longer innocent. Outside, the universe unfolded in splendor. He passed dying stars collapsing into black holes, asteroid fields that shimmered with rare minerals, and nebulae that glowed like titanic flowers in bloom. One massive star whale, an ancient creature drifting between galaxies, came close enough to pulse a harmonic greeting to his ship, registering on Luma's sensors like a lullaby. Turbulence and awakening. About 1 light-year from where Aetheron had once orbited, the Akran Shell encountered a gravitational distortion, a chaotic region known as the Tear of 9 orbits, where 3 galaxies intersected, producing space-time turbulence. The ship rocked violently. Zorak's stasis was temporarily disengaged to allow the onboard system to recalibrate energy fields. Akran Shell, navigating through turbulence time-space zone where 3 galaxies meet. For the first time in about 1.5 millennia, 1,500 years, he opened his eyes fully. The window displayed a maelstrom of purple fire and distorted stars. He didn't panic. His training kicked in. He reached for the control halo, linking his consciousness directly to the ship's mind. He calmed it, rerouted power, and stabilized the drift. Episode 3. Echoes of a Lost World. Time aboard the Akran Shell was measured not in hours, but in awakenings. As he drifted through galaxies, his ship kept him in a delicate stasis, only partially conscious. In these lucid intervals, holographic recordings of his parents played, teaching him more ancient Aetheronese history, cosmic physics, and the ethical codes of the Guardians. His powers emerged not all at once, but as pulses of awakening potential. Luma, the ship's galactic intelligence, GI, monitored and nurtured these developments. Power of gravitrace. During his first awakening, the ship drifted near a dying star. As solar winds buffeted the Akran Shell, Zorak reached instinctively toward the view screen, and the chaos outside slowed. Without knowing how, he had stabilized the ship using only his thoughts. Luma confirmed it. Subject exhibits gravitrace control, ability to manipulate local gravitational fields, power strength, level 3. Power of photomorph. Later, while passing through a nebula rich in reflective gas, Zorak practiced blending into his surroundings. It began with simple shadow play. Then his body blurred, shimmered, and vanished altogether. Luma recorded, photomorphosis, complete. Subject can manipulate light particles to reflect invisibility, adaptive, stealth class, elite. As meteors once threatened to breach the Akran Shell's hull, Zorak felt a pressure in his chest. He struck out with his palm and an invisible wave blasted outward, vaporizing the rock. The energy had not come from the ship, but from within. For eons, time meaningless in the expanse, Zorak slept. His mind absorbed lessons, memories, simulations. He grew not in body, but in understanding. When the ship's sensors finally stirred him, he awakened into the cockpit as a young teenager, 15 solar cycles since his launch. Zorak remained in the Akran Shell, mastering the spaceship controls and gathering information. Power of kinetic resonance. After light years of sleep and awakening, of lessons and longing, Luma's GI voice echoed differently one day. Planet detected, Class G biosphere, rich in organic life with a compatible atmosphere. Designation, Earth. In the year 1999. As he neared Earth's orbit, Zorak marveled at its chaotic beauty. Unlike Valerian's elegant balance, Earth was a tapestry of contradictions, polluted and pure, war-torn and wondrous, primitive yet promising. He activated the descent cloak, encasing the ship in a meteor-like shell. He chose a forested region untouched by major cities and landed the Akran Shell in the center of a crystalline lake in the year 2000. The ship folded into the water, becoming one with its surroundings. Zorak in his ship, the Akran Shell, now within the Earth's gravity. Zorak emerged into Earth's gravity, barefoot on moss, starlight in his blood. He felt the pulse of his powers adjusting to this new world. Every tree, every breath, every photon of sun fed him in ways he hadn't anticipated, but it also stirred something deeper, an echo of his purpose. He leaned forward. On the screen, a fragile blue marble suspended in the dark, a watery planet filled with unstable civilizations and diverse life. The Earth. He had arrived. A bit over 2,800 years after his departure from Aetheron, it was the year 2000 on Earth. He studied the data. Nitrogen-oxygen atmosphere, breathable. Complex biosphere, adaptable. Energy anomalies, latent but significant. Intelligence, fragmented, tribalized, modest but evolving, conflict-prone yet capable of deep empathy. Zorak. He sees chaos, wars, wonders, music, monuments, compassion, and pleasures. It was raw and full of potential. It reminded him of his parents. He felt the pull, not from the readings, but something older and deeper. As he processed his thoughts, a whisper through the stars. "Set a course," he said. The descent. The Akran Shell whispered through his mind. Earth, habitable, energetic, and diverse. Cautious entry advised. The Akran Shell approached Earth under the cloak of a meteor shower. Upon descent, the ship self-camouflaged, integrating into the ecosystem. Its landing protocols folded it through layers of atmospheric distortion, ensuring it appeared as nothing more than a flash of light in the night sky. Zorak guided it to a quiet region, dense forest, isolated lakes, low human density, somewhere in the northern hemisphere of the Earth, Point Hope, Alaska. Trees grew over its metallic bones. Animals avoided it instinctively. It was invisible. Zorak Nebulae lands on planet Earth. The ultimate guardian is here. Zorak stepped out for the first time onto the Earth, a world with gravity, less dense than Aetheron, yellower light, strange sky but sweet air. He looked up, knowing the stars no longer knew his name, but he remembered his purpose. Eventually, Zorak of Aetheron began to walk among humans. He would need to adapt and stay stealth. He would become a guardian. We hope you have enjoyed our story this far. Please click the like and subscribe button to help us serve you better. This helps keep our channel alive with intriguing and captivating stories. Thank you. Now back to our story. Episode 4. Early days on Earth. Zorak quickly discovered humanity's contradictions. One night he saved a child from a forest fire, vanishing before cameras could capture his form. Another day he witnessed cruelty, humans destroying forests for greed. He observed cities, disguised himself as a teenager in local garments, and learned languages through subtle telepathy and mimicry. His abilities had grown sharper. He could manipulate metal with a wave, lift massive objects without strain, vanish in seconds, and absorb energy from solar storms. But he remained hidden. Orana's words lived in his soul: guard what is good, protect the light. He avoided conflict but always watched and saved people discreetly. Slowly, stories began to emerge, myths of a spirit boy saving lives. He became a whispered name, the Lightwalker. But he wasn't ready to reveal himself fully, not yet. Earth needed time, and so did he. The call to purpose. One night, as Zorak meditated by the lake housing his camouflage ship, Luma's voice returned. Residual data detected. A fragment of Aetheron survived. His heart thundered. A beacon, a tiny shard of his homeworld, was moving through a distant solar system. Could his parents have lived? Could there be others? It was too far to reach now, but hope had returned, and so he chose. Earth would be his sanctuary for now, his proving ground. He would protect it, not out of obligation, but love. He would blend in, train, and when needed, rise. From Zorak Nebulae to Guardian. He built a sanctuary beneath the Earth's crust, a chamber of light where he could rest, train, and heal. He crafted a suit, not armor, but a focus, channeling his cosmic force with precision. Its core glowed with a pulse like Aetheron's old sun, and he waited for Earth's darkness to rise, for the moment when the stars would cry again, for when Zorak the Wanderer would rise as Zorak Nebulae, the Guardian, within the shadows of Earth. Zorak stepped lightly through the dense woodlands of the Pacific Northwest, his cosmic senses adjusting to the raw, unfiltered life force of Earth. The air was denser than Aetheron's, and the gravity a touch heavier, but it felt grounding. Each breath pulled 1,000 cents into his sharpened awareness: pine, soil, the faint buzz of technology hidden in the distance. He chose a name among humans, Zak. It was close enough to Zorak to resonate, but ordinary enough to escape suspicion. Disguised in simple clothes, he walked into a world unaware of its newest protector. Learning to be human. Zak observed before he acted. He studied humans at their markets, in schools, across city streets, and digital screens. Their emotions fascinated him: how quickly they loved, how fiercely they feared, foolishly they hated, and how easily they fought. The chaos was vibrant, unpredictable, beautiful. But he struggled as he couldn't understand lies, even small ones. He found their boundaries arbitrary, laws that changed by region and convenience. His first job in a scrapyard was short-lived when he lifted a half-ton engine block by hand and walked it across the yard. The foreman thought he was a magician. The others whispered. He learned to hide. Zorak's suit, the Aetheron focus, remained hidden deep beneath a crater lake where his ship rested. Without it, he felt vulnerable. But with it, he was more than human, and that meant danger, for him and for them. He could summon and wear it within milliseconds, anytime he needs it. The spark of power. Despite his efforts to remain unnoticed, Earth responded to Zorak's presence. Electromagnetic anomalies followed his emotions. Animals sensed him. Children stared probingly into his eyes, knew he was unique. Zorak lands on planet Earth. The ultimate guardian is here. And then came the first dark thing. It began in a remote mining town in South America. A rift opened, small but growing, tearing through the fabric of reality. From it spilled something ancient and hungry, a creature not from Earth nor from any nearby system. A void-born phantom pulled toward sources of power. Zorak felt it like a splinter in his mind. He traveled there quietly, reaching the town as the skies crackled with unnatural energy. At dusk, beneath a blood-red sky, he summoned and wore his exosuit again. The Phantom Siege. The air split open like torn fabric. From the rift between dimensions, the Phantom Wraith emerged, a swirling storm of darkness, half mist, half malice. Its form twisted unnaturally, flickering between dimensions, its body composed of living shadow and flickering sparks of anti-light. The ground beneath it turned brittle and frosted. Birds abandoned the trees in frantic, disoriented flocks. The presence was wrong, anomalous, alien even by Zorak's cosmic standards. Zorak had sensed it before it appeared. Now, standing atop a ridge cloaked in the blue-gray mist of an early Earth morning, he faced the entity head-on. The phantom didn't speak to Zorak, but it hissed into his mind, a voice of rusted razors and forgotten languages. You do not belong. You must give way. With a burst of motion, the wraith struck. Tendrils of pure shadow surged like spears, crackling with a necrotic hum, each aimed at vital points. Zorak didn't flinch. The moment the first tendril struck, his suit shimmered with radiant defiance. A kinetic field pulsed outward, vaporizing the shadow on impact, but more kept coming, more intelligent, adapting to each move. Zorak swirled into motion, fluid as a meteor slicing through space. His arms glowed with raw cosmic power, and with a single roar he unleashed a barrage of concentrated beams of condensed plasma shot from his palms, each infused with solar resonance from his native star. The beams struck the wraith mid-lunge, ripping pieces of shadow from its form that dissipated like dying stars. Zorak and the Phantom Wraith. But the Phantom didn't die. It learned. It learned that it was facing a powerful adversary. Now it split into three mirrored forms, each one striking with mathematical precision, attempting to flank him. Zorak somersaulted backwards, raised both fists, and slammed them into the earth. The ground quaked, erupting in a nova of white-hot light that arced upward and exploded like a supernova. Two forms vanished into smoke. The third slammed into Zorak with a shriek. They grappled mid-air, light against void, heat against cold. Zorak gritted his teeth as he locked arms with the Phantom. Its strength wasn't just physical, it was temporal, warping time in short pulses, trying to pull him out of sync. But Zorak had been born in the eye of a galactic collision. Chaos was his cradle. With a snarl, he activated the core pulse, one of his suit's most dangerous abilities. The center of his chest glowed blinding white, then ignited into a pulse wave of compressed cosmic force. Time snapped back into place. The Phantom reeled, screeching as pieces of its essence were drawn into Zorak's suit, not burned, but absorbed. The process was not painless. Flashes of memories surged into Zorak's mind, alien faces, dark councils, a void fleet crossing star systems, and a name echoed in cold, metallic unity, Oblivior. What was this? Who? And then, silence. The last of the wraith crumpled into a fading shadow, evaporating into Zorak's armor like smoke into a vacuum. The battle was over, but the silence that followed was not peace, it was dread. The suit dimmed. He overcame his first challenge, but a warning flared in crimson on his HUD, heads-up display. The message burned into his consciousness. They are searching for you. Zorak dropped to one knee, panting, his fist clenched. This wasn't just a random attack. This phantom had been sent. A probe, a scout. Who or what was Oblivior? As the sky above returned to its pale, earthly hue and the forest resumed its quiet rhythm, Zorak stood slowly. His eyes scanned the horizon not for enemies, but for answers. Zorak and the image of Oblivior, aye. The Guardian's fight had truly begun. He again recalled a warning encoded in the attack. They are searching for you. Hunted by the void. Zorak understood then. The collision that destroyed Aetheron had awakened forces beyond what his people had ever catalogued. Something ancient stirred in the void, drawn to his power or afraid of it. Earth unknowingly had become a new battleground. To blend in, Zorak took work as a traveling researcher under the guise of studying electromagnetic phenomena. In reality, he was mapping disruptions, cosmic fingerprints of things not of Earth. He met allies who already knew him as Ziak, humans with exceptional gifts or senses, a hacker named Mira Hills who could trace energy signatures, a scientist named Dr. Elwyn Ray who once glimpsed another dimension through a particle accelerator mishap, and a mute telepathic boy named Lumo. Together they formed a quiet network of 4, unofficial, unrecognized, but are Earth's first line of defense against what the stars had left behind. They name themselves the G4, short for the Great Four. This is the birth of the G4. Zorak and friends, the Great Four, the G4. Embracing the guardian within. With every battle against a mind-controlling fungus in the Amazon, the mercenaries using alien tech in the Middle East, against a living storm over the Atlantic, Zorak grew stronger, but so did the pressure to reveal himself. He longed to tell Mira Hills who he really was. He wanted to trust Elwyn Ray and mute Lumo with the truth of Aetheron. But the words of his mother always returned, "Only through humility can misfortune be kept at bay." So he stayed silent, alone in truth, surrounded by the friendship. Zorak began to shape his own legend, not as an alien, but as a myth whispered by those he saved. Now the guardian of the galaxies, the night star and the invisible, the cosmic being's journey from a vanished world to become Earth's hidden protector. But beneath it all, Zak remained Zorak Nebulae, the last son of Aetheron, protector of a terrestrial world that took him in, that he had grown to love. Episode 5. Shadows stir in the dark beyond. The warning echoed within Zorak's mind long after the tendrils of the phantom dissolved into the void. They are searching for you. Back in the solitude of his hidden base, a converted chamber beneath the Earth's crust, camouflaged by seismic cloaking, Zorak stood before the pulsating core of his advanced exosuit of adaptive alien alloy, fused with cosmic energy veins and reactive plating that morphs in sync with the wearer's will. The suit forges both shield and weapon in a single intelligent design, and the energy he had absorbed shimmered ominously within it, unstable and whispering with voices not his own. He realized that the first encounter was no random attack. The shadow creature had been a seeker, a synthetic scout born from Oblivier's will, a cosmic sentience that thrived on the entropy of collapsing worlds. Oblivior, once a myth spoken of only in fragments among the elders of Aetheron, was real, and now it knew Zorak was alive. Eons ago, Oblivior had been a celestial anomaly, energy so old it predated the stars themselves. Neither matter nor spirit, it was a force of forgetting, of unmaking. Oblivior didn't conquer, it erased. It would collapse a sun not with might, but with silence, removing its memory from the laws of the universe as if it had never existed. Oblivier's only purpose, to end the Song of Stars. Now it had turned its eye towards a stumbling block to its purpose, Zorak the Guardian. The preparation begins. Knowing what haunted him, Zorak wasted no time. He modified his suit with the absorbed Seeker's essence, crafting a new module, the Eclipser Core, which allows him to detect anomalies in the veil between dimensions, places where Oblivier's minions could slip through. He also initiated a psychic training regimen to strengthen his mind against Oblivier's influence, using lucid meditations and ancient memory crystals salvaged from his escape ship. On Earth, Zorak had learned to blend in, his form now indistinguishable from a human, going by the name Zak Orion. By day, he worked at a tech firm, his advanced knowledge helping him quietly improve Earth's defenses in small, untraceable ways. By night, he roamed the skies, chasing flickers of shadow and whispers in the wind. It wasn't long before he sensed the next disturbance. the rift above Atarak's Bay. A tear opened in the sky above Atarak's Bay, a region known for sudden electrical storms and magnetic anomalies. Civilians witnessed a thundercloud that moved against the wind, pulsing with violet lightning. Zorak arrived just in time. From the rift crawled 3 new, larger, more coordinated seekers cloaked in armor of entropy. But this time, Zorak was ready. He unleashed his stellar wings, massive, blazing with solar fire, and dove into battle. One seeker tried to shroud him in anti-light, but Zorak inverted the spectrum, creating a blinding flare that vaporized its shell. The second launched spines of frozen time, but Zorak phased through them, each move calculated through split-second predictions enhanced by his suit's chronometric core. The third was different in that it didn't attack, it spoke. "You are the anomaly," it hissed in a voice that reverberated through dimensions. "Oblivior remembers you. You are the last light from a forgotten flame." "Then tell your master," Zorak replied, raising both hands, stellar energy whirling between his palms, "that this light does not flicker." With a cry of fury, he released a nova pulse, rupturing the sky and closing the rift, but not before the third seeker escaped into the shadows, the message and the next step. Later that night, while repairing a fractured part of his chest plate, Zorak received a signal from deep in his neural cortex. A memory shard, long dormant, had been activated by his battle. A vision bloomed in his mind, his father, Kael'Zur, speaking from a holographic message embedded deep in the Akran Shell. "If Oblivior finds you, it means it has awakened. You must find the celestial anchors, beacons hidden across the galaxy that can bind Oblivier's spread. One of them may be hidden on Earth." Now Zorak had purpose again. The guardianship of Earth was no longer a silent mission, it was a war against the dark. He looked up into the stars, his eyes no longer searching but locked in defiance. Episode 6. The Anchor Beneath the Mountain. The world slept as Zorak soared silently above the Himalayan peaks, guided not by maps, but by memory, ancient celestial memory inherited from his people, and reawakened by the holographic message of his father, Kael'Zur. Aetheron was real, and now it knew Zorak was alive. Cosmic frequency, monoliths woven from the threads of pure creation, placed on various planets eons ago to tether reality to the light. Only beings like Zorak, connected to the energy of Aetheron, could sense them, and one impossibly was here, buried in the rock of Earth. His HUD flared as he neared the snow-draped summit of an uncharted Himalayan peak. Beneath it, a harmonic resonance pulsed faintly, a song of light muffled by stone and time. Zorak descended. With his bare hands, he parted the cliffside, melting ice and vibrating granite with frequency manipulation. Soon he entered a massive subterranean cavern glowing faintly with ethereal blue light. At last in the center, partially entombed in crystalline quartz, there stood a structure that hummed with living energy. It was the first anchor of reality. Zorak and the first anchor. The celestial anchors were not technology in the traditional sense. They were ancient resonators of cosmic frequency, monoliths woven from the threads of pure creation, placed on various planets eons ago to tether reality to the light. Only beings like Zorak, connected to the energy of Aetheron, could sense them. It stood like a spire of liquid crystal, 10 meters tall, pulsing with a rhythm that resonated with Zorak's core. As he approached, the chamber stirred, dust fell, the air thickened. A warning. "Do not awaken it," a voice echoed from the shadows. "It is not yours." Zorak spun, energy rising in his palms. From the far wall stepped a being cloaked in living obsidian, eyes glowing with the same void light he had seen in the Seeker. But this was no scout. This was a warden of Oblivior, a former celestial being corrupted and consumed by the ancient force. "This planet belongs to chaos now," it hissed. "The anchor will fall." The battle erupted with thunderous force. Zorak unleashed a solar spear, its light fracturing the cavern ceiling. The warden countered with tendrils of dark gravity, pulling light into orbs of null space. Zorak darted, his movements a blur, wings of cosmic flame flashing. Each blow from the warden was like the crushing weight of a black hole. Each strike from Zorak was a burst of starfire. They clashed at the base of the anchor, their energies shaking the mountain above. But then the anchor awakened. It released a pulse, a perfect harmonic tone that shattered the warden's control over shadow. The being screamed as its form unraveled into the ether. The chamber fell silent. Zorak approached the anchor once more, now glowing with full strength. It accepted his touch, and in that moment he saw visions of the other anchors, one hidden beneath the sea, another in the desert of the planet Mars, and the third one orbiting in fragments above the hollow moon. But more importantly, he saw Oblivier's form, deep in a shattered region of space called the Veil Beyond, and it was moving and consuming energy. The first anchor's pulse would slow it, but not stop it. Zorak emerged from the mountain as the sun broke the horizon. The world below remained blissfully unaware of the ancient war now rekindled, but he knew. The guardianship of Earth was only the beginning. The fate of all existence now rested in his hands. The next one sleeps beneath the oceans, guarded by something ancient and angry. Thanks for being here. Don't forget to press the like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support keeps our stories alive and helps us grow together. Now watch out for Zorak the Guardian, Part 2, for the continuation of this superhero thriller, out in the next 48 hours.